It's been 14 years since a Labour Chancellor of the Exchequer delivered a budget. And now the late Alistair Darling's protégé, Rachel Reeves, is set to unveil the first by a female Chancellor on Wednesday. She's more keen to frame it as a seismic economic moment for her party than herself, promising a new era of public and private investment in hospitals, schools, transport and energy. But her key election promise not to raise national insurance, income tax or VAT on working people to pay for it all has been tripping Labour up, with confusion over who exactly is a working person. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson was grilled on employers' NI contributions, refusing to clarify if business owners counted in that definition.
So working people derive their main income from the work that they do in terms of going out to earn a living, and that's why we've been clear that in the budget, in their payslips, they won't see higher taxes, and that means no increases in VAT, national insurance or income tax. Wider measures, any other changes that are set out will be a matter for the Chancellor in the budget.
But the Conservatives accuse Labour of misleading the British electorate.
They essentially lied to the British public. They said that their plans did not require any tax increases above the relatively limited number set out in their manifesto, and it turns out that was completely untrue.
Allowing the Chancellor to spend considerably more.
Former Cabinet Office Chief Economist Jonathan Porters worked on Labour's last budget. He thinks Rachel Reeves' changes to debt rules for investment have been well handled, but her tax messaging has been messy. That line, no tax rises on working people, it worked well as an election slogan, but in practice, does it make policy difficult now?
I think it's clear what they meant, which was that for people who get all or most of their income from earnings, that taxes on those earnings are not going up, and they are broadly going to stick to that pledge. But I think it certainly has confused things rather, and it may box them in further down the line.
Hi, I'm Rachel.
Rachel Reeves has been relatively tight-lipped on what's going to be in her red box compared to recent Conservative predecessors. Though today's pledge of £1.4 billion for rebuilding crumbling schools underlines her keenness to invest in education as well as health early on in the Parliament. The calculation she's going to struggle with is whether the turn of phrase on taxes to secure voters' ballots will in fact be seen as a sleight of hand when it comes to their payslips.
Vincent McAvenny reporting there. Well, earlier I spoke to Mariana Mazzucato, who's an economics professor at University College London. I started by asking her if Labour's first budget and changes to the fiscal rules could deliver growth.
Rachel Reeves is definitely on the right track because she's going to the source of the problem. There's no point in talking about the symptoms, which is low growth. The problem is that we've had low public investment, low private investment, and both of these are causes of weak productivity and hence growth. So what she's doing, which is extremely important, is a beginning, I think. More needs to be done.
Is business then interpreting this wrong, or is it Labour's problem with the way that they're communicating this? For example, today, we've seen a senior person from the Labour leadership unable to define what working people means. Right. Isn't it their problem that they haven't been able to communicate what they actually want to achieve?
Well, what we definitely need to avoid is a sort of us versus them, big business versus small business, state versus, companies. That doesn't help anyone. So the real conversation that a progressive government should be having is how do we get purpose-oriented business working with mission-oriented government, and he's adopted these 5 missions. How do we turn those into a green industrial strategy, but also an industrial strategy that has health and well-being at the center? And if we do that, business will benefit. There's, trillions out there in terms of a global market around net zero. If we don't get into that market now, we will lose competitiveness. We will lose productivity, which we have been losing for the last 2 decades.
But will tax rises on business help this? Will it help or will it drive them away?
So it depends which tax, right? I mean, again, capital gains tax reform is absolutely required if we want an economy driven by long-term investment. And I'm talking about business investment. There should be an honest conversation with business on why we have permitted an economy to have profits with low investment. We need profits reinvested back in, right? This is not about talking about just like philanthropy or charity. We need good business working with good government. governance, but currently the current tax structure is not helping that.
The Shadow Science Secretary, Andrew Griffith, claimed the government is behaving like a dodgy hire car firm over their budget plans. They haven't been honest with voters, have they?
Well, I don't think we need many lessons from the shadow government right now in terms of honesty and being, straight with the current budget. So again, that's just, a slogan. What we need is to stop the slogans and to have an intelligent conversation with adults in the room.
And just finally, Mariana, you seem to be maybe one of the only people in the country who is excited or happy about the budget coming up. Why do you think there's so much pessimism?
It's not about being happy. Look, this is not about, being happy or sad. This is about supporting the right trajectory. I'm not saying what is currently being done is perfect, and definitely the story around it, the narrative, the understanding, the communication is central. So that can definitely be improved. And I also think the actual policies can be improved. But the point is that just listening to those who are complaining about, a rise or a fall in tax, or those who are threatening that this might cause inflation when actually it won't, as long as it expands the productive capacity of the economy. It's absolutely about increasing that mission-oriented, outcomes-oriented public investment, which we have lacked. We invested what the average, we're talking about mediocrity here, the average of the OECD had invested in terms of public investment. We would have invested 500 billion more. And the UK business sector has not been investing for decades.
Mariana Mazzucato, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.